Well, good evening, everybody, even though it says good morning. Welcome to our workshop on insomnia, and we're going to have a great time tonight. Hi, my name is Paul.
Good evening, everyone. This is Bev.
Hi, Bev. We have somebody to our side also, don't we?
We are really I am so pleased tonight to have Martha Lewis with us. If everybody saw our show on Monday, you got a really good insight as to what Martha, the sleep detective, is all about. I love that, Martha. That's great.
All right.
So
Let me
let's
let me
go
just
ahead and
let me just
do
give
you want to
people
say
a couple of
something?
things. Yeah, if you want
Yep.
to get the workbook before we go over the points after Martha's presentation, go to justtouch.com/workbook, and we'll be teaching you the BioTouch technique to work with insomnia. And if you're here for CE credits, we have Carol. Hi, Carol from Texas, Greenville, Texas.
Hey,
And
Carol.
if anybody else is here, just put your name in the little comments there and where you're from. And hopefully, we'll have some time for questions at the end. Just write your question in the comments and we'll pass them on to Martha. So, otherwise, Martha, I will try and work with you and do your PowerPoint. So, take it away. You are on your own.
All right, thanks so much. Not being able to sleep is terrible. You have the misery of having partied all night without any of the satisfaction. For any of you who have struggled to sleep, you know how true this is, right? You wake up feeling awful and you didn't have any fun the night before. I know how this feels too. That's how I got into helping other people sleep, is because of my own sleep struggles. And mine started in late pregnancy, but didn't go away even after my son was born, even after he was sleeping through the night, even after I had become a pediatric sleep consultant to help other parents with their baby sleep. And it really went on for 2 years before I finally found out what was going on in my body that was causing that. So that's what I want to share with you today. But first, let's talk about what is insomnia. So to be diagnosed with the sleep disorder insomnia, there are 5 very specific criteria that you have to meet of how long you're sleeping, how many times you're waking up at night, how long you're waking up. None of that is really helpful. I define insomnia as trouble sleeping, just like Willy Wonka says here. So whether that's trouble falling asleep or waking up in the middle of the night and having a hard time going back to sleep, or waking up too early in the morning and really not feeling rested when you wake up. So any kind of trouble sleeping is what I'm defining as insomnia. And you've probably read a lot, if you struggle with this, you've read a lot online about what could be causing this. And it can be things like stress and not having a bedtime routine and, blue light at night and things like that. But I want to go deeper than that and talk about some things that you haven't heard about, some imbalances in your body that could be causing this. And so it's really all about cortisol. And cortisol is, as you probably know, one of our main stress hormones, but it also is what wakes us up in the morning and keeps us alert throughout the day. But we want it to be almost zero at night and then in the middle of the night, because cortisol does suppress melatonin. Now, when a stressful event happens, and I live in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, so I like to say, if a bear's chasing me in the mountains, then my body's going to release cortisol and other hormones to help me survive that. And so it's going to do things like raise blood sugar, because that is what is going to give us energy. It's going to heighten memory and attention so that we can focus and think quickly. It's going to increase blood pressure and heart rate and body temperature. And it even decreases our sensitivity to pain. So it's really helping us in this fight or flight response so that we can survive. But when we are fighting for fight or flight, it takes resources away from other systems in our body. So It takes it away from reproduction and digestion and our immune system. So all of those systems are depressed when we are in fight or flight. So as you can imagine, like, we're very good at dealing with that in the moment acute stress, but when it's chronic and ongoing, then different systems in your body start breaking down. Your body doesn't have the resources it needs to make enough cortisol to deal with all the stress you're under. And so that can lead to symptoms like insomnia for some people and completely different symptoms for others. So when we talk about stress, what's interesting is that our bodies don't know the difference between being chased by a bear and being overworked or getting in a fight with your partner or running late and being stuck in traffic. And so we still release those same hormones. We still have that same response, that fight or flight response, even though in a lot of stressors of modern day life, we don't need to survive in that moment, but our body and our brains don't know the difference. So let's talk about 3 hidden causes of insomnia that I want to share with you. And these all have to do with cortisol and stress. So that is why I wanted to explain that. And I call these hidden because they're in your body and you probably don't know about it. And so that's why you aren't making this connection that this is leading to sleep problems. So first we'll talk about blood sugar. So you ideally want to be on that mellow ride on the bottom there. So you eat, blood sugar goes up a little and then it goes back down and it's on that very mellow ride. But let's say that you start your day with a cup of coffee and a pastry. So your blood sugar is going to spike really high. Then your body's going to release insulin to lower it. It's going to drop really low, which is going to cause a stress response. Your body's going to release cortisol to also increase blood sugar. And so then it's going to spike really high again. And when your blood sugar drops, it also causes you to have cravings for sweets and caffeine because your body wants that quick energy. And so then if you eat that, then that's increasing that spike even more. And so you're on that very extreme roller coaster like the one on the top there. And when that is happening all day, that's going to continue into the night. And so whenever your blood sugar drops too low in the night, your body's going to release cortisol, which is going to wake you up. And it could cause your mind to race, your heart to beat fast, you to feel wired, even though you're tired. And you may or may not feel hungry. I do have a couple clients who have gotten in the habit of eating in the middle of the night and then they fall back asleep quickly. And that's a sure sign that it's a blood sugar issue. So what you really want to do to keep blood sugar levels steady is to focus on whole foods, definitely avoid refined sugars and carbohydrates and sweetened drinks, and make sure to have plenty of protein and fat with every meal and snack. And that's going to help minimize that blood sugar spike. Now, usually people with blood sugar issues, how it affects their sleep is that they're waking up a few hours after going to sleep. So this could be waking up at 1 or 2 in the morning. They're going to bed at 10 or 11. And so if this is happening for you, something that can help is to have a small snack before bed. So 100 or 200 calories, a healthy snack with complex carbohydrates, protein, and fat. So say like almond butter and an apple can help to stabilize that blood sugar so it doesn't drop too low in the night. All right, so the next hidden cause that I see in a lot of my clients are food sensitivities. So sensitivities are different than allergies. If you think of a child with a peanut allergy who goes into anaphylactic shock, that is an immediate reaction. That's an allergy. A sensitivity can be more delayed. And so it's a lot harder to connect what you're eating with how it's affecting you. Now, some of the most common sensitive foods for people are gluten, dairy, corn, soy, and eggs. Those are the big 5. But you can be sensitive to even healthy foods like broccoli or things that we think of easy to digest, like rice, and not even be aware of it. And how this affects sleep is that when you're eating foods you're sensitive to, it's causing this low-grade inflammation day and night all the time. And what I haven't mentioned about cortisol is that it's also an anti-inflammatory hormone. And so if there's inflammation, your body's going to release cortisol, and that can cause you to wake up at night. So there are two ways to find out if you have food sensitivities. The first way is to do an elimination diet, where you eliminate those major sensitivities that I mentioned for 30 days, and then reintroduce each food back every few days and see how you feel. And this, a lot of times you'll notice a big difference, because when we're eating these foods every day, we don't really notice how they're affecting us, because it just becomes our status quo of how we feel every day. But you can find out a lot from removing them for a while, and you might notice a really big difference. I know this happened to me with gluten, where for years I thought I didn't have an issue, but one day a few years ago I did eliminate it, and then I ate it again after about a month, and I immediately felt bloated. I felt this low-grade fatigue that I probably had before, but came back almost immediately, and it caused me to wake up in the middle of the night. Now, the second way you can find out if you have food sensitivities, which is what I prefer, is to do a test. So there are quite a few different options for tests you can do. What I do for most of my clients is an IgG test. So this looks at these IgG antibodies to whether your body's producing those against certain foods. And so you can test for 200 foods at the same time and have this quick information as to what you might be sensitive to. And honestly, for anyone with sleep issues, one of the first things I recommend doing is following an anti-inflammatory diet, because so much of insomnia is caused by this inflammation, and diet plays a huge role in how much inflammation is in our body. And so an anti-inflammatory diet that eliminates gluten and dairy and refined sugar and alcohol can help lower a lot of inflammation. It can help your body be able to start to heal once it gets rid of that stress. So that's a great place to start. Now, the third hidden cause of insomnia that is common in almost every of my clients is the gut. So we have trillions of microbes living in our bodies, more than we do cells in our body. And one of the things that's really important is we want more good than bad of those microbes. So if you think about it as the sheriff and the outlaw, they're always going to be outlaws. But as long as you have enough law, enough sheriff and deputies to keep them in check, then everything's good. And it's the same in our gut. But if certain pathogens are able to take hold, then they really damage our gut and affect our sleep. And so I'm talking about things like parasites. I see these as the Billy the Kid of pathogens. We get these from contaminated food and water, and we think of them as, I probably got my parasite from traveling in Asia, but we can get them in the United States too. You may have heard of Giardia is a common one. There's also bad bacteria. H. pylori is a bacteria that grows in the stomach that I see in about 85% of my clients. So I see this highly correlated with sleep. And yeast like Candida that thrive off of sugar. And all of these pathogens affect our sleep because they are nocturnal. And so it's the middle of the night that they are eating and excreting and releasing a lot of toxins and causing a lot of inflammation. And now you know what happens when there's inflammation. Your body releases cortisol, which is going to wake you up with your mind racing, your heart pounding, all of those reactions, and you're wired. So it can really be helpful to know if you have pathogens and eliminate those. Now, another way that the gut really affects our sleep is that the good bacteria in our gut actually make 90% of neurotransmitters. So things like GABA, dopamine, serotonin, even melatonin, the good bacteria are responsible for making those. And so if you don't have enough good bacteria, then it's going to be really hard to feel good and relax and be able to sleep. So gut health is so important for sleep. Now, there are quite a few other possible causes, things going on in the body that can cause sleep issues. A common one I see in my clients is liver detox issues. So this means that your liver is overburdened. It has more toxins than it can handle. And it's also most active at night. And so when those toxins are circulating around, they cause a lot of inflammation. So that can cause you to wake up. Low cortisol can actually cause sleep issues too, because when your body is depleted of cortisol, then it resorts to adrenaline, which magnifies that stress response even more. There are different mineral imbalances that can cause sleep issues, and heavy metal toxicity is another thing I'm seeing in a lot of my clients. So lots of different possibilities as what could be going on that's causing this one symptom of not being able to sleep well. So let's talk about, yes.
Martha, we do have one question here about
Sure.
gut issues, and somebody wanted to know if do gut issues include colon issues?
Yes. So, I mean, the gut, I think we kind of think of it as our whole digestive system, but it can also be the colon, the large intestine. So yes, that's actually the test I do, is looking at mostly what's living in that large intestine, in the colon. Awesome. All right, so let's talk about how to deal with insomnia. What do you do? These are your options. So you can follow the basic sleep advice. If you Google how to sleep better, you're going to see the same things, like avoiding screens before bed, don't drink caffeine past noon, exercise every day, have a relaxing bedtime routine, all of those things. And those are important. They are the foundation. But most of the people I'm working with, they're already doing all of that, and it's not helping. And that was me too. Like, I was doing all the right things and still wasn't able to sleep. And that's really frustrating. So it's because there can be something going on in your body. Now, if you go to your doctor and say that you can't sleep, you're likely going to be prescribed a sleeping pill. And I'm not a big fan of medication. I think that it can make things worse in the long run. I mean, it puts a big burden on your liver, and it changes your brain chemistry. Sleeping pills also sedate you, so they don't actually produce natural sleep. And we have different sleep stages, or times you spend in the sleep stages when you're on sleeping pills. And so I've worked with quite a few people who've had a really hard time coming off sleeping pills because they can be really addictive. Now, another option is cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, or CBTI. And this is looking at your thoughts, your feelings, and how it's driving your behavior. And I do think that this is very important. Definitely our mind plays a role in our sleep. And if you're having negative thoughts about sleep, or sleep anxiety, or you're doing, have habits that are kind of sabotaging your sleep, like watching TV in bed or something like that, then it's definitely good to address those things. Now, I use cognitive behavioral therapy techniques in my program because the mental part is so important. But I also work with a lot of people who have tried cognitive behavioral therapy and it hasn't helped. And that's because it is only addressing the mental, and you really need to address both the body and the mind to really get to the bottom of this. And so what's your final option is to find and address the root cause. So what's going on in your body, what's going on in your mind, address everything at once so that we can get to the bottom of this. And so I do 4 different lab tests that are looking at hormone balance and gut health and minerals and food sensitivities, all the things I mentioned, so I can pretty much find everything that could be causing this. So if there's anything you take from this today, I hope it's that you know that your sleep is figure outable. If you've tried everything and nothing has worked, it just means there's something deeper going on, and we can find out what it is and fix it. So you don't have to live with this forever. And if you are struggling to sleep, then I created a checklist that you can find on my website. It's called What's Causing Your Insomnia. And you kind of put down if you're experiencing different symptoms that can give clues to different imbalances in your bodies that could be causing you to not be able to sleep. And you can find that on my website at thecompletesleepsolution.com.
Woo-wee. So
Wow.
we got a lot of questions here.
I have a lot of questions.
Okay.
But you know, the interesting thing, and I don't know if you know this, we did some research with Dr. Stevenson, and
I was thinking about that
the
too,
one
Paul.
thing she found out with BioTouch that BioTouch did was balance cortisol levels.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
And she
Yeah.
did hormonal testing, blood testing, and she had like 45. I'll have to send you the research. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm really excited by what you had to say.
Me
But we do have
too.
some questions here. One of them is you see a lot of melatonin products over the counter, even for children. How do you feel about the melatonin?
Yeah, so I do occasionally recommend melatonin for my clients, but one of the tests I do looks at melatonin levels.
Oh,
So yeah, so I'm all about testing instead of guessing, is what I like to say. And for a lot of people, you know, low melatonin isn't the only reason they aren't sleeping. And I actually see low melatonin as an indicator of gut health, because like I mentioned, 90% of that is made in our gut. But occasionally I will recommend it short term while we work on restoring gut health. But in general, I mean, I don't like guessing and messing with hormones like that, especially for children. I'm not a fan of melatonin for children. For adults, if it helps, that's great. It probably does mean that that you do have low melatonin, but I think like I recommend very low doses, like 1 to 2 milligrams, whereas you can buy a 10 milligram pill in the health food store and really get too much. So that's my take on melatonin.
all right. And then somebody asked about recommending. Somebody says melatonin doesn't work for me. I wake up, go to the bathroom, my mind gets going, and I can't go back to sleep. Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, it's cortisol.
And coming from the lady who wrote it, I know that's probably what's going on.
Yeah, right.
Oh, she did. All right. So there's another question here. We have what do you recommend for men? They have to get up a lot, urinate during the night, and then they can't get back to sleep again.
Yeah. So again, I mean, urinating a lot can also be from cortisol too. So yes, and it can be from mineral imbalance. So it's definitely finding out, you know, what is causing that. And ideally, I mean, I get up and go to the bathroom every night, and then I go back and go right back to sleep. Right. So it shouldn't keep us up. I mean, one thing I recommend is getting out of bed. So instead of lying there getting frustrated that you can't sleep for a long time, if you've been in bed for about 20 or 30 minutes and you don't seem like you're going back to sleep, I suggest getting out of bed, going to another room, keep the lights dim, stay off screens, but do something relaxing until you feel sleepy again, and then go back to bed. And I know this is really hard to do, but I found for myself and many of my clients that you actually fall back asleep faster. And so you end up getting more sleep if you do that.
I remember once this teacher had me get up at the middle of the night and sit with a candle, right, to meditate at 2 or 3 in the morning. If you want anything to put you to sleep, try and meditate with a candle.
I've done that one. Yep.
So let's see. We have one more question here. She talks about, how do you know what your bacteria balance is like?
Yeah, so you want to test for that. I mean, I use a test called the GI map or gastrointestinal map that shows what's living in your gut. So it looks at 75 different things, including pathogens, good bacteria, bad bacteria, what are called opportunistic bacteria that are normally there but can easily get overgrown. So yeah, testing is pretty much the only way to know what's living there.
All right. Well, Martha, this was awesome. We totally awesome.
I
So we
know.
just want everybody to know out there, if you're on our email list, if you're not, go to justtouch.com and give us your name with your email. We will be sending out the video of this, and also we'll include Martha's PowerPoint with that. And again, if you want to contact her personally, there's her thecompletesleepsolution.com, and you can get personal contact to the sleep detective. Dun, 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 dun.
This was
Uh,
wonderful.
yes, thank you. All
Great.
right, that
Yeah,
was
well, thank you so much for having me.
that was
Thank you,
awesome, and we'll talk
Martha.
to you soon, Martha. Thanks.
Okay, sounds good. Bye.
Bye.
Well, there you go.
You know
Woo!
what? Every time she said something, I wrote down a set, a BioTouch
Right.
set, and it's exactly the 4 sets that we're going to present.
Right.
I'm telling you.
You know, I think, you know, if you can get those tests, if you can work with her or get them, I think that's a great adjunct. But,
Yep.
you know, I think BioTouch, you know, if you're going to have that apple with a little bit of nut butter, man, get somebody to do BioTouch with you
Oh
before you
my
put your head down.
goodness.
So we're going to teach some points, and
We
we're gonna give this over to Bev. Let me see which thing we have to do here. Whoops, there it is. Now let me give you the book, and take it away, Bev.
Okay, so if you have the workbook, Paul gave you the access link before the presentation. We have a little workbook that goes along with this. If you signed up, you can go in there and get it. And we do this every time, every month. BioTouch is about consistency. So we're teaching on a consistent basis for everyone. If you're new, just please bear with us. So we're going to take you through some real easy concepts and basic teachings about BioTouch. And then we're going to actually teach you, give you those sets of points that will address on all those levels, I'm going to say, about insomnia. So let's begin in the workbook. It's page 6, and it's what is BioTouch. And let me just say, the very first page of our workbook is about the condition. So you can read and get a lot of good information before you get into the workbook. But this is always going to be the first page of our workbook. And then that second page on page 6 is what is BioTouch? So for those who have not ever, who are not familiar with what this amazing technique is, it's a very light touch using the first 2 fingers of both hands, and it's touching very lightly on the skin. So the definition of BioTouch is one person touching another person lightly on the skin. So what immediately happens is we are brought into a relationship with another person. So BioTouch is 2 people practicing BioTouch together, one giving, one receiving. But I will tell you what we know, everybody is a giver and a receiver when you start practicing BioTouch. So let's just go over a few of these bullet points just to kind of give you an idea of some basic information. BioTouch is easy to learn. And yes, it is. It's a very simple system. We have had children learn it and practice it effectively and become certified, taken our practitioner training. So, you know, if children can do it, I think we pretty much got it. The second bullet is a complement to any healthcare program. So yes, it is an amazing complement, no matter what you're doing. If you're under a doctor's care, if you're doing other modalities, it's a complement to everything. But even more than that, BioTouch is a holistic system. It's integrative. So it stands alone. BioTouch is not just to be used with everything, although everything can be used with BioTouch. It's an integrative, standalone healing technique that everybody can use. So if you're under a doctor's care, taking other prescriptions, on a special diet, Biotouch is just going to enhance that program. Biotouch has no levels of ability, and everyone is effective the first time that you use it. And this is it. This is very true. We have no levels of learning Biotouch. There's a practitioner training. At the end of that, you have the whole system. The moment that you use Biotouch on another person, you are going to be effective for that person. In fact, if you were to turn around and teach somebody one of the sets, they would be immediately effective for you. This is a unique technique. And what we know is Biotouch is for everyone. It's for all of us. That's why we're so effective. We've already got the juice. We've already got what it takes to practice Biotouch in our lives. We just have to learn those simple sets of points, touching on the body very lightly, and boy, we're going to be effective immediately. So it requires no special preparation. You don't have to have a belief system or a philosophy. We stand alone on our own. We are all effective. We do not have to prepare ourselves to touch another human being. They cannot give us their negative energy. So we just step up to someone because we care, because we want to help them with their stress and their pain. That's really all that is required to practice Biotouch. So, and the moment you do, like I said, you're going to be immediately effective. So this is the way that if you want to work with another person, this is what you do. You always wash your hands. And then we will use the first two fingers of your hand. You will touch lightly on the skin. And for each point in that set, you will hold 6 to 8 seconds. And there you have it. You can practice Biotouch anywhere, anytime, with anyone. So that's basically this system. This next page, the terms, we really don't go into this during these workshops. These are just terms that are used in the practice of Biotouch. If you really want to learn how to use them, come to a practitioner training. We would love to share those with you. So now you've washed your hands, you're with someone, and the very first thing you are going to do is give what we call the greeting. This is always performed before any other set. This is like the key that opens the body, and the body knows when it gets that greeting. So we are going to, it sets up a harmony between the two, the associate and the recipient. And you want to do this every time when you work with somebody. So Paul's going to click us into watch the video of someone performing the greeting.
The greeting is always performed at the beginning of each session. It's the only set that uses one hand and the only set that indicates which hand to use. The greeting is performed with the dominant hand. If you are right-handed, use your right hand. If you are left-handed, use your left hand. The greeting is made by touching at point 1, which is in the fleshy area just below the bottom of the breastbone or sternum. Hold this point for 6 to 8 seconds. Then, with the same two fingers, touch point 2 on the back. To find point 2, look for the big bone at the base of the neck. From here, move 1 to 1.5 inches to the left. This is point 2. Hold this point for 6 to 8 seconds. More than one associate may work with a recipient provided that all of the associates perform the greeting. If the associate or the recipient leaves the session, or if someone who hasn't done the greeting touches either the recipient or the associate, the greeting must be reestablished. Then the session may proceed from where it was interrupted.
So just want to let people know before you start, on that
Yeah.
first page was that drawing that we showed you of where the points are. And on the second page of that same set are the words, and the words are exactly the same as are in that video. And that video is accessed through our ebook through that little link there that says click here to watch the videos. So again, if you want to download this, justtouch.com/workbook. For members, they get all the different workbooks for free. So, and you get the entire manual for free too. So, okay.
Thank you, Paul. That's a good point. Yes, the manual is wonderful. And that video is excellent learning tool for Biotouch. So now we've given the greeting, and now we are going to start addressing, we have tonight 3 different sets that we feel will address this condition, insomnia. So if you're looking at the workbook, you see we're going to start with the head set, which is really addresses everything related to the brain. And she was talking about that cortisol, those hormones, that the melatonin, all of that will be, Biotouch will help with regulating all of that. And insomnia, can't tell you how many parents we've talked to that do the headset at night on their children, and wow, they're out like little angels. So let's go ahead and watch the video.
The headset can be used to address conditions related to the brain. There are 4 steps in this set. In step 1, use through fire to touch points A and A. Point A on the back of the head is in the center of the neck at the base of the skull. Point A on the front of the head is at the center of the forehead, where the forehead begins to curve to the crown. Step 2 is performed in crossfire with the fingers of each hand touching on opposite sides of the head. Hold at X, which is in the indentation beside the neck muscle at the base of the skull. It is the same as point 1 of the back set. On the opposite side of the head, touch points 1 through 5. Points 1, 2, and 3 are on the ridge line formed where the skull curves up toward the crown. Point 1 is above the outside corner of the eye on the ridge. Point 2 is above the front of the ear on the ridge. Point 3 is above the back of the ear on the ridge. To locate point 4, move down the head toward the base of the skull to a horizontal indentation approximately 1/3 of the way down from the top of the ear and 1 to 1.5 inches behind the back edge of the ear. Point 5 is opposite hold point X at the base of the skull. Point 5 now becomes the new hold point as points 1 through 5 are touched on the opposite side of the head. In crossfire, touch point 1 above the outside corner of the eye on the ridge. Point 2 above the front of the ear on the ridge. Point 3 is above the back of the ear on the ridge. Point 4 is a horizontal indentation approximately 1/3 of the way down from the top of the ear and 1 to 1.5 inches behind the back edge of the ear. And point 5 is opposite hold point X at the base of the skull. Step 3 is performed in matching fire, touching points 1 and 1, 2 and 2, 3 and 3, 4 and 4, 5 and 5. Finally, in step 4, place the open palms of both hands on the head, covering points 1 through 3. Be careful, don't let your hands touch each other.
Okay. So I know it looks a little bit, it's a lot of points, but once you start practicing it, it's like anything else. It will go very quickly, and it's very, very effective. The next set that we suggest is the stress and anxiety set. And, as she was talking, not sleeping is very frustrating, and it takes its toll on the body, on the mental and emotional levels of our being. So when you start doing the stress set, it really helps the body to relax and feel cared for. And so this is a great set to use for insomnia. So let's watch the video.
The stress set may be used to address any manifestation of physical, emotional, or mental stress, as well as anxiety and shingles. Hold at X, which is in the The stress set may be used to address any manifestation of physical, emotional, or mental stress, as well as anxiety and shingles. Hold at X, which is in the fleshy area just below the bottom of the breastbone. It is the same as greeting point 1. Then with the other hand, touch points 1 and 2, which are the same points as in the heart set. These points are found by imagining a line running from the notch at the top of the breastbone to a place on the left breast where the nipple would be on a youth. Divide this imaginary line into thirds. Point 1 is at the top of the first third. Point 2 is at the top of the second third. These points may be touched repeatedly, and remember to touch each point for at least 6 to 8 seconds.
Stress set, very easy to do and very effective. The last set that we're going to show you is the metabolism set. And remember, Martha was talking about blood sugar issues, which this set is very good about addressing. So it also helps the body to assimilate and to get rid of and to balance out what it needs. So this is a very good set to use for insomnia. So let's watch that video.
The metabolism set can be used to help the body assimilate what it needs and eliminate what it doesn't need. The metabolism set has 2 steps. Step 1 involves touching points in matching fire along the large muscles on the front of the neck. Points 1 and 1 are located above the collarbone in the soft indentations on both sides of the notch at the top of the breastbone. Points 2 and 2 are halfway up the neck on the front of the large muscles. Points 3 and 3 are at the top of the neck on the front of the large muscles. The second step involves holding a point on the front of the body and touching points next to the spine on the back. Hold point X on the front of the body is on a line directly between where the nipples would be on a youth and is 1 to 2 inches to the left of the breastbone. Another way to find X is 1/3 of the way up the breastbone from greeting point 1 and 1 to 2 inches to the left of the breastbone. The points on the back are located next to the spine, forming a rectangle around the breakover point. The breakover point is where the bottom of the rib cage joins the spine and can be found by imagining a line directly through the body from greeting point 1. To perform step 2, find hold point X on the front of the body and touch points 1 through 4 on the back. Point 1 is approximately 1 to 2 inches up from the breakover point on the left spine muscle. Point 2 is directly across from point 1 on the right spine muscle. Point 3 is 2 to 3 inches below the breakover point on the right spine muscle. Point 4 is used to address blood sugar problems and is added to the other metabolism points when needed. It is located across from point 3 on the left spine muscle.
And as we know, has been very effective for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So that's basically it. That's the
That's
4
it.
sets.
So also we should know, she talked about blood sugar being an issue with sleep, and that fourth point on
Yep.
let's just take a moment. Let me see if I can find it. Show the stress chart. There it
I
is.
was going to say, let's show them the
We're
stress.
going to show you the stress chart. This is done by Dr. Kenneth Stevenson, who did all kinds of hormonal testing and huge questionnaires. You can go to our research page, justtouch.com/research, and you can see all those stressors in our life are on the top part of that chart. And they create chronic stress, which we're talking about here, creates that cortisol dysregulation and immune dysregulation. So that cortisol dysregulation right there is
It's
what Martha
huge.
was talking about. And
Yep.
BioTouch was shown to improve circadian pattern of cortisol release, which improves the quality of life. That's what she was talking about. The research in BioTouch bears that out. It's incredible.
I know, it was the moment she started talking, I thought, oh my gosh, this is what Kenneth Stevenson was doing with BioTouch all those years ago, huh?
Yes. And so we're talking, even if all you did was the greeting, that'll do something. If you can do greeting and metabolism or greeting and head before once or twice a day, if you're having sleep problems, yeah, I think it can help for sure.
Or just right before you go to bed, have somebody do that with you.
So, try it and let us know, because I don't have a sleep problem myself.
Me neither.
I put my head down on that bed and I'm out.
Gone.
And I get up to go to the bathroom once, and I lay my head down the second time, and boom, I'm out. Maybe a little more than you need to know about my life.
Hey, thanks for sharing.
Oh, well.
No, that's great. That is great. Well, we would love it if any of you out there, if this really speaks to you, we have monthly practitioner trainings virtually. And you can go to our website and sign up for those. They're always publicized on our Facebook page. And please join us. And, if you're really interested in learning the whole technique, it's one day, and then you will have the whole system, and you can begin immediately to start helping everyone in your life.
And if if you're just watching this as a replay, come for a refresher. We have Elliot here that we've been working with. He came and he's taken a class, and some little refreshers, asked how hard to touch. So, come ask questions. We just want to make this simple for you to use in your family, to use with your friends. This is not a big deal, folks. You don't have to do a lot of training, and we're here for you.
We're here to support anything you want to do with BioTouch.
Anything you want to do. And so our next one, plantar fasciitis, is next month. So join us for that. Again, the workbook, justtouch.com/workbook. You can download what Bev went over with today. And this was an awesome workshop. We had about 10 people at a point.
I learned so much about insomnia. Who knew?
Yeah, who knew? So let us know how you can help. You'll get Martha's contact information if you'd like to work with her. And join us, Bev and I, on every Monday. We'll probably talk a little more about this on Monday, because we like to pick up a little bit on that. So otherwise, thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Bev. You did an awesome job.
Thank you, Paul. You too.
And we'll see you all sometime.
Have a great evening, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.